What's up, guys? It's the Essential John L. Crossfire.
And I am Nova Lee.
And you guys are tuned into Caught
in Conversation.
Shaka laka laka. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to episode 172 of Caught in Conversation. Roll with the punches. As always, I am your host, the Essential John L. Crossfire. Nova Lee's actually lurking in the background, but still another week without her officially being on the podcast. There is a buzzing in the background because it's cold as fuck at the compound, so I didn't want to turn the fan off. It is just for the intro and outro, the conversation you're about to hear with Zack Stryker. There's no buzzing or anything, but just please bear with it during the intro and the outro because it's a little bit chilly on the willy here at the compound right now. First and foremost, I do want to apologize to Zack. Obviously, with my ADHD, sometimes I talk over people unintentionally. I do feel like I did talk over them a little bit more at the start of this conversation than even usual, but I was just excited to have my homie here, so yeah, I apologize to them for that. But yeah, very exciting conversation here with Zack Stryker. We talk about coming back from the hernia injury. Unfortunately, we have to dabble in the whole stuff and things that are happening with Jackson Thornhill. But there's also a little announcement about ICW Indestructible and the chaos that will reign on that night. The entire company could potentially be flipped on its head with all the stipulations at hand on this show. But first and foremost, the song of the week this week, Mama Said Knock You Out by Five Finger Death Punch. Absolutely banger of a cover. Absolute banger of a cover. And the match of the week is John Cena versus CM Punk from Monday Night Raw on February 25th, 2013. Obviously, we talk about this match here in this conversation. We all know it was John Cena versus The Rock. Once in a lifetime, became twice in a lifetime. John Cena put his spot against The Rock on the line against Punk. This is the match where Punk hits Cena with a pile driver and Vince McMahon fined them both because pile driver was at the time banned in WWE. Oh my god, shenanigans. But just, this is a ridiculous match. Go check it out. But yeah, the song of the week, Mama Said Knock You Out by Five Finger Death Punch. Match of the week, John Cena, CM Punk. Raw, February 25th, 2013. That entire match actually just got uploaded in its entirety on the WWE Vault YouTube channel. So you can go find it either on Netflix or YouTube, or you have the internet. I'm sure you can find it just about freaking anywhere. But it's there. Go check it out. Without further ado, I'm not going to waste too much time. I will say that when this episode drops publicly on all the pod platforms on Sunday afternoon, there will be a bonus episode dropping 5 hours later at 5 p.m. I did a watch-along of The Mean One, the Grinch Christmas film, as a little Christmas and July thing. Usually our watch-alongs, the video footage, are tier 3 for Patreon. This is going to be tier 1. For as low as $5, you can watch me have jump scares while I watch this horror Grinch film. And I actually really did freaking enjoy it, though. I actually want to watch it in December. I want to get Nova to watch it at some point, but she's a scaredy cat.
No, I'm not.
But yeah,
horror is cheesy. I'm not a horror girl.
No, it's I actually really enjoyed it. But yeah, check that out. The audio version of that will be dropped for free. But without further ado, I'm going to press the button. Nova's left the room now, so I guess I'm going to do it. I was going to try and rope her into introducing our guest here in Zack Stryker, but she's disappeared to the bedroom. Okay, without further ado, I'm going to press this button, and then I'm going to do my best. So nice, I had to press the button twice. Let's press it for a third time. I'm going to leave that in. Ladies and gentlemen, from Canberra, ACT, here's your current ICW Australian Heavyweight Champion. Don't turn your back on the Zack Attack. It is the Rogue Heart, Zack Stryker! Ladies and gentlemen, I am here with the current ICW Australian Heavyweight Champion, and I guess kind of still one half of the ICW Tag Team Champions. I'm still a little bit confused about that, as I'm sure Zack probably is. But he is the Rocart, Zack Stryker. As we record this, it is Tuesday evening, Tuesday the 15th. How are you doing tonight, my dude?
I'm doing all right. How are you doing, mate?
Yeah, well, as I said to you off air, like, life is hectic. You know, these health issues are very well documented, but it's weird. Like, on one hand, they're getting better, but then like they get worse at the same time because something will get better and then something else will come along. But it's not as severe as it was. So like, you know, it's just these little nuisances, I guess. Like, they're just a little bit frustrating more than anything. But I'm plugging along. I'm talking to one of my homies. I've been wanting to do this for a while, but you got hurt and you had to take some time off, and I'm sure we'll get into that as well. But the first question's always the same for first-time guests of the pod. It's just very simple. What was you, as a young lad, Zack Stryker, what was your first ever professional wrestling memory?
First professional wrestling memory. First actual, like, proper wrestling match I watched was Rumble '08, I think it was, from Ric Flair versus MVP.
Ooh, okay.
Which I guarantee you not many people will go, oh yeah, I remember that. it was an average match, but the first proper memory, and this is what got me properly into wrestling, was John Cena's return later that night.
See, this is where
that made me...
this is where I remember that there is a slight age gap between us, because I'm like, I remember being, I think I want to say 13. And like having a friend be like, bro, John Cena just won the Rumble. And I'm like, what? He's injured. What the fuck are you talking about? And then like, he's like, no, come to my house, you know, I think Raw was still on Wednesdays here. He's like, no, come watch Raw with me on Wednesday. And obviously like they show like the recap and stuff. And I'm just like, what? Dude, that Madison Square Garden, the setup, like, that is an iconic like memory, like moment to go back on though.
Yeah.
I think actually that was the same Rumble. Is that the same Rumble where Snooker and Piper came out and like everyone literally just stops fighting in the Rumble, which had never happened before? I don't think it's happened since either. Like that's a really great underrated Rumble.
Yeah, I think the only one since then that's had anything like that was maybe Edge's return, where everyone was like, what?
Yeah, actually, you know, you're probably on the money with that in 2020. So that's what's that? Trying to do the math. That's 12 years later, which is insane to think about. I like that you mentioned that Flair MVP match though, because like you say, not many people will remember that. But as now that I'm trying to remember it, it wasn't like I hate using this term, but it wasn't a 5-star classic by any means. But there was a really good story told in that match, because obviously at the time Flair's career was like on the line, blah, 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 which led up to him versus Shawn. And I remember specifically Charles Robinson was the referee, like at the request of Flair. And there's like the spot where he counts to 3, but his foot's on the rope. So like they restart the match or something like that. Like it's so hokey and wrestling 101, but it's so well done. Oh wait, man.
Oh, you got MVP going, yeah, I beat him. Yeah. What the hell do you mean?
And then Nature's like, nah. Like little Nate, I'm the referee. Foot's on the rope. Match is restarting, and everyone's like, oh god. And again, it's Madison Square Garden, so like the atmosphere is the Orton Jeff Hardy match from that card is one of their most underrated matches. Like they've had so many great matches over the year, but like just the ending, the twist of fate into the RKO, still one of the smoothest RKOs.
I think that's
ever.
one of my favorite. That's one of my favorite counters I've seen still in like 15, 20 years of watching wrestling.
So from then on, then like seeing this Rumble was this like your. What was the context here in watching the pay-per-view? Were you watching it like live with a friend? Did you watch it like after the fact? Like, run me through this. How did it come by that you were watching the 08 Rumble?
A friend of mine who got me into wrestling lent me the DVD of it and just loved the entire theatrics about it.
Okay, hell yeah.
Like the whole over the top.
I have like...
the whole over the top stuff.
I have a whole DVD shelf full of like I literally have my DVDs separated. I have an entire shelf of like cupboard, I should say, just for wrestling DVDs, and it's kind of a little bit out of hand, but I have a whole stack of Royal Rumbles, and the '08 one has been played many, many, many times.
It's got some good matches on it. Like Edge versus Rey Mysterio, I feel like that's also one of their most underrated ones.
Yeah, again, like they had so many good matches like over their career that a lot of that stuff kind of gets swept up. That even like I don't know if it was the opener or not, but it's one of the early matches. But they have like the Jericho JBL match that like ended in the DQ. But even that with the DQ finish was a solid matchup because again, it's Madison Square Garden. Like I think there's just something about the atmosphere with like the shows that are in that venue, and just that whole card from top to bottom. While you're not going to sit here and say it's a 5-star classic, I'd honestly, it's very rewatchable. But from then on, were you like a regular watcher of WWE upon like watching this DVD, or?
I watched what I could, mainly through like YouTube clips and getting the DVDs, but as much as I could watch it, I would. I remember on like the Saturdays there was like this clip show for WWE with like Matt Stryker being the host, and it showed like bits from Raw and SmackDown.
Oh, that would have been WWE Afterburn, I believe. It was on like Saturday afternoons, and then it was Sunday afternoons, and then it was like moved to like Thursdays at midnight. Before they ended up just like I think they did like the episodes of SmackDown, but they were on like 9 Go, like on free to air, but they were like heavily edited. But Afterburn, I think, was like the original version of that on Channel 9. I remember because like back in the day, like my nan to this day, God love her, still gets the newspaper, and I remember like reading like the TV guide, and I remember like just stumbling upon it one day. So then, like, every Sunday at whatever time it was, I'd watch it. I remember just turning the TV on one Sunday and it wasn't on. So I'm, like, rushing to the TV guide to, like, flick through to find it just to see that it had been moved to a Thursday. And I'm like, brah!
Brah.
First world problems, right? But from what point did you discover that there was independent wrestling or just wrestling outside of WWE in general?
Oh, wrestling outside of WWE. I'd say about 2011-ish was when I discovered what TNA.
Okay, yep.
And then it wouldn't be for a few years that I discovered more indie-style wrestling, mainly because of Ricochet and Ospreay. Like their viral match. Everyone lost their crap about.
They've obviously had a handful of those, but I'm assuming is that the one where like there was in New Japan and like it started like the whole Vader feud and all that stuff with Ospreay?
It was the one in New Japan where Jim Cornette just called it flippy shit.
Yeah, I think if it's the exact one that I'm thinking of, because again these guys have had a handful of match. It's the one that led to like Ospreay actually wrestling Vader, and Vader refused to lose. And anyway, I think that was the one that started like the whole like wrestling is art thing, and Ricochet had like that really big long like quote that he put out, and they ended up putting it on a t-shirt. And hey, I mean, like I personally, I look at that match and I'm like, I wish it had have been, say 10 minutes of just selling or whatever in between, but for a spectacle, they got the job done. So
yeah, they did.
They're making a shitload of money now as well, so they obviously did something right. Obviously did something right there. At what point did you discover that wrestling existed in Australia?
Actually, it was the ICW Decade show that I fully discovered it.
Oh, so the ICW was actually your first ever...
Australian independent show.
Hell yeah. See, my first ever Australian independent show was also ICW back in 2012 when they came to Goulburn, back when they were doing ICW Goulburn as like a sub little division like they do similar with the Central West shows. And for years and years, like they'd had so many different wrestling companies. And like through doing research, I found out that one of them was PWA, I think IWA. And I had this like mindset as a young kid where I was like, if it's not WWE, I'm not interested. And I think that's kind of bit me on the ass over the years when like wanting people to come watch me because they've looked at it and gone, it's not WWE, so I don't care. I'm like, yeah, well, that's fucking karma. But no, I finally went to an ICW show in 2020. So the Decade show, that would have been was it the 2019? The Decade
19 or 18.
Yep.
Yeah.
That was the one where I got concussed.
Ooh.
So how did you hear about that one? Did you just see the posters around, or?
Yeah, I saw the posters around, I think, Woden or something like that, and just like, oh, that looks cool. I'll go see that. Didn't know there was wrestling in Canberra. I'll go see that.
So when did you then discover that there was like a whole plethora of wrestling in Australia?
Not long after the Decade show, I just went on like YouTube and started looking for Australian wrestling, and that's when I found like PWA, MCW, EPW, I believe is the Perth one.
Explosive Pro Wrestling over in Perth. Insane training academy they've got over there. They're actually doing, as we record this, like literally today, they're starting I think it's today, it might be tomorrow, but this week sometime they're doing like a full-on super camp with people from Victoria, South Australia, New South Wales. I think they got a couple of Queenslanders in there. They've got people from New Zealand flying over, I think. They're doing a massive super camp this coming week. Violet Blitz, actually, who was on the podcast about 2 or 3 weeks ago, cheap plug, is actually taking part in that camp. So she's from South Australia. But yeah, EPW do some insane stuff.
I mean, they got some damn good talent over there.
Oh, absolutely. Like, Damian Slater, Davis Storm, Gavin McGavin, I think he's over from Western Australia as well. There's so many people that, like, I can't even list them all. But hell yeah, I love that, though. Like, this is where I love, like, we always talk about, like, how like, what's the word I'm looking for? Like, how toxic the internet can be at times. But I love that, you're in this generation now where you've just gone, oh, this is cool, and you can just type it into Google or YouTube or whatever, and you've just gone down a rabbit hole, so to speak, and just discovered all of this stuff, like at the click of your button, the click of a button, the click of your fingers that's just insane to still think about. I've said it so many times, but it just blows my mind every time I think about it.
Yeah, I'm lucky to be in this age. Like, 10, 20 years ago, you'd have to be lucky to find some wrestling that isn't like the mainstream.
Like, I've had people on this show that are like, they're like, oh, it was like in a newspaper clipping or a magazine, or randomly sometimes, like back in the day, like, early Australian wrestling's early 2000s, there was an ad on television, and you're like, that's so wild to think about, that like an ad came on television for Aussie wrestling in this day and age. But I mean, I wish Aussie wrestling was a part of like normal television. That would be awesome. But no, from what point then? And obviously we've had this discussion where you messaged me and I like just said, hey man, show up to this address on this day. There was nothing to it. I've never tried to claim that, I got him into the business. But at what point did you like make that decision of you want to be in the business? And was there a specific like moment or anything that you had where you were like, I've got to try this, or I want to try this?
So the moment, I'd say the part that actually got me to want to do it, because being a little kid, you look at that and go, I want to do that. But I'd say it was probably meeting people like you, meeting Rob Messenger, Tank, Benny Whiplash after a show, and going, I want to be a part of this. This looks awesome, and I have no regrets about it.
I will say, and I've said this on record many, many times, that like the current crop of, I hate using the term rookies, but the current crop of like young guys that ICW have, I've gone on record many times and said that it's probably the most talented that they've ever had. Like throughout the different eras where you've had like Nick Maltino and Mike Kelly, and then obviously you had myself and Atticus Slane in another generation, and then the next generation was of course yourself, now Jackson Thornhill. We've had a prodigy or two as well come through, but I genuinely think the crop of young guys that ICW has now is definitely the most talented from like an athletic standpoint and just from a wrestling standpoint in general. And I know that some of the old guys will probably be like, hey, I've been here for 20 years. Like, I'm not trying to say that you haven't, but I'm just saying, like, from a bell to bell, with the way that the business has evolved, especially, like, talk about Ricochet and Will Ospreay as a perfect example of that. With the way that wrestling has evolved, I think you guys, you cover pretty much all bases, and I couldn't, even just as a fan, be more prouder than watching what you guys have been doing.
Oh.
Like, and I'm not just saying that to like blow smoke. Like I've said it on this podcast many times, you know, even when Nova's been on, where like I've used like yourself as an example, or I've used Jackson Thornhill as an example. But yeah, so what exactly about it like really drew you in terms of the spectacle and stuff?
When I was in school, I loved the drama classes. I just loved acting, and the over-the-top style of wrestling just appealed to that theater kid in me. And also, being a bit of a nervous person and having a bit of stage fright, thought, doing something like this that I absolutely love in correlation with something I love could help me with that.
Okay.
And just a group of people around I just had a good vibe around the group of people around it.
That's the shit that I love to hear. It had a good vibe. And unfortunately for you, though, as we record this, you're a couple of years in now. You had to miss the majority of, well, I wouldn't say the majority of the year, but you missed a good chunk of the year at the start of this year and last year due to a hernia. What was that like from a mental standpoint of, especially like an injury at any point, obviously screws you, but you were at a point where you'd kind of just started to build momentum. You'd started to win a couple of titles, started to really kind of get your name and stuff out there, and then you had to take a little bit of time off. What was that like for you mentally, and how did you kind of prep to get back into the ring?
Oh, mentally, that screwed me up massively, especially with like the first ECW show being around the corner. Like, I was so excited to be a part of that. And whilst at first just being around everyone helped me out a bit, stepping away was probably the best thing I could have done, because I could just prep myself emotionally and physically to get back to it. And the second I was cleared, I was so happy. Like, yo, give me a match, please.
What was the process like for getting back into ring shape? Because a lot of people don't realize, like, I'm not going to sit here and pretend that I have the greatest cardio in the world, because at this point I get blown up just walking upstairs. But when I was actively wrestling, like, there's obviously cardio is important, but there's a big deal between just doing big difference between doing just cardio and then obviously just ring shape. There's levels to it. So what was that like, trying to get prepared to get back into ring shape? And was there like any concerns in your mind regarding that? Because obviously your hernia is, a hernia in a stomach is a very painful thing, and wrestling is a very core driven type of sport. So what was the process in trying to prep for that?
One of the concerns was definitely, like, even though the doctor said, "Oh, no, it shouldn't tear," was it just tearing on like a suplex or something? Because the human body can just give up on you. But as for getting like back into like ring fitness and all that, some people might call me crazy for this, but I decided to do what's it called? The beep test.
Oh, okay, wow.
Just for fun.
Just for fun. We're learning about Zack Stryker right here. Did the beep test just for fun.
Yeah, why not? You got to pace yourself out. I think it's a good way to do it.
But I mean, that's a good thing though, right? Because like that, if you really want to test yourself, something like that, to you kind of, I guess it's a catch-22, because on one hand, you're concerned about it, but on the other hand, you've really you've kind of got to push it to its limit to see if it's going to hold up.
Yeah.
Hell, did the beep
Gotta
test
give it your all.
just for fun. Now, obviously, off the back of that, though, as I record this, you have started to build some more momentum again. You've obviously competed for ECW, which sure didn't end the way you'd like, and we'll get into that a bit later on with all the Jackson Thornhill stuff. But as I record this, you have actually recently just debuted for Suplex Pro Wrestling and Wrestle Strong as well, down in the Sydney and Newcastle area, respectively, for both of those promotions. What's that experience been like? Because like you've done a handful of different appearances for both now.
Yeah, it was kind of crazy. They needed a tag team for Suplex needed a tag team for the party, and went up. Sorry, and honestly, nice group of people that have nothing bad to say about them. Very welcoming, just different type of crowd, and just the mention of from Canberra, boo.
What's been the challenge, the biggest challenge for you, or if there even has been any, but what's been the biggest challenge for you of coming into a new locker room? Because like being an outsider for anything is obviously a very daunting task, especially when you do have like anxiety kind of issues, but being still, again, I hate using the term, but being so young in your career, how's that been? Was there any like issues with that in terms of trying to, meet new people or come into the new locker room, I guess, as an outsider?
Didn't think it was actually too bad with both Suplex and Wrestle Strong. They were both very welcoming, both very open. I knew a couple of the Suplex guys before I went up, so that did help. But no, they were both just wonderfully welcoming with open arms. And so at the time, having Jackson there, who was kind of like, my buddy, at the time, it helped, because I'd always have someone there that I knew.
It's always good to have someone with you. I remember like when I started going up to Queensland, if I hadn't have had guys there that I knew, I probably would have been I would have just been frightened, because the fact of, meeting new people in any area is terrifying, basically, for me at least. Yep. And I'm sure you're probably in the same boat. So, the fact that you're, going to go out in wrestling of all thing and, let's face it, basically put on a pair of, spandex or lycra or whatever your gear's made out of, but like basically put on a pair of tights and make a fool of yourself in front of all of these strangers. It's definitely a daunting task. But at this point of your career, and obviously as we record this, you're currently the Australian champion. Tag titles is a whole different situation. But is there any other promotions that you've got your eye on right now in terms of bucket list?
Oh, in terms of bucket, honestly, there's not many places I wouldn't go. I go just about anywhere. Nightfall would be pretty cool. MXW, Adrenaline, Alpha Pro. I'll go just about anywhere.
There is.
I'm happy to wrestle.
An entire roster full of people at both Adrenaline and MXW specifically that I would love to see Zack Stryker go up against, and Nightfall and Alpha for that matter as well. But I know that I do have people from some of those promotions that listen to this podcast. So someone hit up Zack Stryker and book him. But no, I really wish we could kind of talk more about like, what you've done or where you're gonna go, but I can't really go any further without talking about ICW and ECW specifically, because of, maybe I'm a little bit biased, but obviously being a part of, Rogue and all the stuff with Jackson is very near and dear to me. But as we record this, you have won a handful of championships. You unfortunately, and this isn't like a knock, unfortunately they have been very short reigns. And I know that with the way you won the ICW Australia title, we were kind of talking and you really wanted to to prove yourself. And like we've talked about that, like I kind of put Rob out there to stitch Apex up and he took it way too far and made you look like a chump even though you had the title and you really wanted to basically take that title by the horns and make a statement. Unfortunately, because of the actions of Jackson Thornhill, you haven't really been able to do anything with that championship yet. In fact, he, quote unquote, defended the championship for you at a show that you couldn't attend because of the neck injury you did sustain from him, and now he's kind of taken both the tag titles, and apparently him and Unit are the tag champs, and he claims Rogue's dead, and I don't even know. But as we record this is going to drop the day after publicly from Hard Day's fight, but you've got your chance at a bit of a revenge in the four-way. Yep. But did you see any warning signs in Jackson's attitude or behavior before this, like with the whole pile driver and everything? Because like we had like that little bit of moment at Insane Asylum where he had a bit of attitude, but before that, I don't know where that came from. Like, did you have any like inklings or like issues with him backstage before this, behind closed doors that we're unaware of?
No, at Insane Asylum, he sent me back for his singles match, and before that, just nothing. I don't know if he thinks that me coming out in the first place cost him the match with Chris Stevens, or what happened. Just came out for the tag match, dragging the referee by his shirt. And I'm pretty sure that $5 that he gave him, he stole from my wallet.
Would not be surprised though, given the thing. But like, fast forward to a Hard Day's fight. You're in the triple threat. You're in there with Tank. You work together to take out Tank, which I think obviously would have been a strategy regardless of who was in there because he's the biggest man in the match. But you guys, as Rogue, took control. You pinned Tank, which is a huge deal, being the smallest guy in the match, pinning the biggest guy in the match. And then you and Jackson went back and forth, which I think many people expected. And yeah, fair enough. Look, a pile driver's a dangerous move. He wanted to win the match, but it was like he wasn't just trying to win the match. Like, he was trying to hurt you. And I'm still, like, obviously as a commentator, I have to do my best to try and remain, like, unbiased, but I was disgusted in his actions on that show. He was even abusing Nova for her ring announcing on that show. And, like, first of all, how is the neck feeling? Are you good to go for Hard Day's fight?
Yeah, I'll be good unless he attacks me beforehand.
Which
yeah, it's holding up well.
But what was the mindset for you after a Hard Day's fight? Like, because like you guys were basically, I was backstage with you, and even though he was antsy, I'd say, but it wasn't that he was having a bad attitude. He just kind of had a point to prove, and like, fair enough, whatever. Like, we all have our own shit, but you guys were game planning, you were strategizing, you literally talked about it amongst yourself pretty much that, hey, we probably should take out Tank, and obviously at some point, you know, you guys crossed and whatever, but the pile driver, even I heard no mention of the pile driver, and when he hit you with that, dude, I was shook, man. Like, have you even seen Jackson like ever practice a pile driver before that, or was that just something that he'd had in his back pocket?
Early days in training, I saw him a bit, but not since his debut. That was just out of nowhere.
Okay, now,
like, unless he was like practicing, like when I wasn't there.
It's just so strange to think that you just drop your own tag team partner on the neck. But I'm assuming at this point you saw we actually played the clip last week here on the pod, but I'm assuming at this point you've seen the promo that was put out by Extreme Capital Wrestling with his thoughts on the Fatal 4-Way.
Yeah, I've seen him. For some reason, he has a fixation with pissing in a bum bag.
I think I've had an inkling of why, and I'm really hoping I don't offend you with this either. I did go on record and say that my prediction was a Shaq out of the four of you guys, just as the whole situation. I mean, obviously you both of you are more than welcome to prove me wrong, but I think that was his chip on the shoulder. Was I said A-Shaq was my prediction, and he took that personally. But in that promo, Zach, he seemed to almost make a mockery of the fact that he pile drove you. And not only does he have an obsession with pissing in mum bags, apparently he seems to have an obsession with Captain Crunch, with whoever edited that promo. I don't think he's going to have a few words for ECW management, I think, when he gets to that show over whoever did edit that promo. But he was almost reveling in the fact that your neck made some crunchy sounds when he hit you with that pile driver. So how does that make you feel with everything that you guys have been through?
Heartbroken, if I'm honest. Like, he said he was happy to be little brother. I felt like he was a genuine brother. Like, you know, you pick your family and just us going around. He felt like a brother to me, and him wanting to put me out of action is a bit of a kick in the dick.
Do you think there's jealousy on his part, perhaps?
I'm not sure what he would be jealous of.
Because like the thing is, he was ICW heavyweight champ. He was on a roll. Everyone was shocked. He beat Jack Gibson. He went in there. He lost to Super Crimson Mask, but he came closer than anyone ever has to beating Crimson Mask at Insane Asylum, which, again, going back to what I said before about the current crop of guys being, arguably the most talented rookies you've had, think of the people that Crimson Mask has faced at Insane Asylum and look at how far to the limits Jackson took Crimson Mask, and he didn't quite get the job done. And then Zack Stryker got injured. Absolute shit out of luck. Obviously, I'm sure in your mind you wish that never happened, but the moment you got injured, you were getting a lot more attention, whether intentional or not, whether positive or negatively. The spotlight kind of got shone on you because we were all saying, "Oh man, like I hope you get well soon." This, that, whatever. Do you think maybe at some point while all that was happening, Jackson was like, I guess, pissed off that what he was doing, I guess, wasn't getting the attention that he wanted? Like, this is just my theory, and I could be wrong, but until he proves me wrong, I'm going to stick with it. But, like, do you think maybe that may have factored into it, like, indirectly?
It could have, but, like, I understand him being pissed off that he lost the world title. You know, he went through one of the best champions that the company's had in Gibson, just fall short against Crimson Mask. Just a lot going through his head that he decided to bowl up until it exploded on my neck.
Now, this coming weekend, as I said, the episode will drop the day after. You've got Gibson, you've got A-Shaq, you've obviously got Jackson. What's obviously you're not going to sit here and divulge your entire strategy on a podcast because, even with it dropping the day after, there is going to probably be some people that hear this beforehand. So, but what's the game plan in terms of how do you approach this match, basically, is my theory. Because obviously there's a lot of personal issues there with Jackson, but you've also got to kind of look at Gibson and A-Shaq as well. Like, which is, where's your head at? I'm getting tongue-tied myself. I'm getting fired up and I'm not even in the damn match. Where's your head at going into this four-way? Because this is arguably, even though you do stand here as the Aussie champion, this is arguably the biggest match of your career with a company's major heavyweight title at stake, and then there's all this personal stuff with Thornhill at the same time.
I mean, how do you plan for a match against three of the, even though one's a twat, three of the best that ECW has to offer? I mean, you have Gibson, who has been a world champion wherever he goes. He's one of the best technical wrestlers that I have seen personally. You have A-Shaq, who can pull anything out of anywhere. And then you got Thornhill, who likes to break people's necks. But if I can take him out of the match, I think my odds are better. And just to release a bit of anger, why not?
I mean, the thing is, right, you can pin anyone to win this championship, but obviously if you did happen to beat him, would be very, just icing on the cake from your point of view. But I'm so disappointed that unfortunately health is keeping us away from being at the show to do our commentary duties, and I know Nova is as well, because Jay Gibson was giving me shit for it, and I don't know why, because I was putting him over, but I went on record like about how much I enjoyed Gibson versus Ashak at Survival of the Sickest at our first show, and just how I thought it was genuinely like the best match in Australian wrestling that I personally had seen, and I'd seen a lot of great matches. I think obviously Doomslayer and Jake had a great match. You go back to Electric Boogaloo, Ace and Jackson did have a great match. Like this match with the talent that's in this match, this has potential to be one of the best matches of the year. It genuinely does, and it's just from you, unfortunately, you just got a bit more of a personal stake in it. But I cannot wait to get footage back of this match and see what you guys do to each other, because for better or for worse, I think all four of you guys, you're basically going to beat the shit out of each other, and it's going to be awesome.
I mean, I wouldn't have it any other way.
The big question for me before we move along and talk about your career and stuff like that is I just want to know, like, because I want this on record. Jackson claims that he has killed Rogue. I have talked to Robbie Parker. I have talked to G-Mac, who, although not a wrestler, still waves the Rogue flag. Are you still proudly representing Rogue, or are you thinking it's a dead horse at this point? Because Jackson said some pretty bold claims on social media and stuff recently.
I mean, I wouldn't be the Rogue Heart without it, so I'm still Rogue through and through.
Okay, I appreciate that. I just wanted that on the record. Jackson's not going to be happy with that. I know the big unit's not going to be happy with that, but I guess at this point that's something we're just going to have to deal with when it comes. But speaking of, you are the ICW Australian Champion. You're going to have absolutely pun not intended, or perhaps pun intended, Insane Championship Wrestling. What are words? On August 30th, Zach, at Indestructible, your night is going to be interesting to say the least, because I have been informed literally today as we record this, just this morning or this afternoon, that at ICW Indestructible, obviously the whole main point of this card is that the main event is going to be the Pick Your Destiny match, as they have announced. On top of the Pick Your Destiny match, we are going to be having what we're calling Championship Roulette. What this means for you, Zack Stryker, as the Australian Heavyweight Champion, and what this means for Chris Stevens as the Canberra Champion and Tank as the World Heavyweight Champion, all three of these championships will be defended in separate matches. However, we don't know in what match or who they will be defending against until the night. Literally on the night, we will have Championship Roulette. One of them will be defending in a one-on-one singles match. One of them will be defended in a triple threat match, and one of them will be defended in a four-way match. We will see all three of those match types for one of those championships, but we're basically going to play, classic ICW staple, random selection at the beginning of the night to see which champion gets which match type. So...
Oh, boy.
I mean, as an announcer, and I am hoping to be back on commentary duties for that show with health and life pending, but as an announcer, that excites me. But as your mate, I'm a bit iffy on that, because you could have a one-on-one match, you could have a triple threat match, you could have a fatal four-way match, but regardless, you don't know who your opponent's going to be. And then, just on top of that, we've got the Pick Your Destiny match, which before that match, all champions will have their championships confiscated from them backstage by ICW management, because obviously we have the 4 cases in the Pick Your Destiny match. It could be all 3 of those championships. It could just be one of those championships. They could pull a swerve and none of those championships could be in the case, but basically 4 cases, and it could be a championship, a number 1 contendership match, or even nothing. So with that being said, on August 30th at Indestructible, you could potentially lose that ICW championship, ICW Australian Championship, either in a triple threat match or a 4-way match, or Lord forbid, someone could just pull the case down in the Pick Your Destiny match. Like, you could lose that title without even being pinned. and you haven't even had a chance to defend it yet. Like, there's a lot going on here. Technically, you got to try and just defend the title twice in one night. And that's if you pull down the right case, if it's inside a case. It's a lot to unpack here, man. Like, how does that make you feel when you've said that you want to do that with this with the title and that with the title, and then Jackson Thornhill's kind of robbed you of the last two shows, and now you're coming back and you're playing, I guess, Russian roulette with professional wrestling here. Like, that's a lot to digest there for you.
Yeah, still yet to defend the title. I will defend it against anyone. I don't care if it's one person, two people, three people, or hell, throw an entire roster at me. Am I happy that I don't know the opponent? Bit annoyed I can't study tape, but I'm a fighting champion. I will defend it against anyone. Bring me your best.
See, alternatively, though, if we want to flip the coin here and have a little bit of a silver lining, you're from what I understand, that you're going to be a part of this Pick Your Destiny match. You could walk in, you could pull a case down, and at the end of the night, you could be the ICW heavyweight champion just from opening a case, which wouldn't be a bad trade from the Aussie title. I mean, that's still a nice little, thing to have. But saying that, you could literally. Now, they say that there's 4 cases, and every time someone pulls the case down, they take it back to the locker room and whatever. I mean, nothing's stopping you from coming out and grabbing another case if you really wanted to, but you could. True. You could lose that ICW Australian Championship and come out with another championship or number one contendership to another championship. Like, there's so many different bells and whistles that could happen here, whether good or bad. It's literally crazy that there's all these things stacked up that it's basically still somehow a 50-50 that you could walk out with something or without something. But does it frustrate you at all that you could potentially lose that Aussie title without being pinned, whether that be in a 4-way or a 3-way or in the Pick Your Destiny match?
I mean, it's always frustrating to lose a title. I've lost 2. But take the punches and always willing to come back for it. I call first dibs on whoever has it if I lose it.
Fair. See, this is the thing, right? I don't want to go on a rant for too long here, and obviously, you have still wrestled for a couple of years here, so we can't cram your whole career into one hour and a half podcast episode. But it is worth noting on the record that with all the stuff that's going on with the tag titles, you were the one that won that tag title match originally for Rogue to be crowned the tag team champions. Jackson Thornhill was eliminated from that match before you made Nick Maltino submit in that elimination tag team matchup. I just want to throw that on the record before we move on to the next topic, because I don't know. And
then he steals my title.
Yeah, it just rubs me the wrong way, and this is where I think I get too emotional, dude. Because even reading, because obviously everyone knows I do on the side make the posters and the match graphics and the social media stuff for ICW Australia. So when I got sent this little thing, and I guess technically maybe you may actually be the first champion to officially find out about all of those stipulations that I just mentioned, especially the championship roulette. I don't know, and maybe that's the other champions may find that unfair. If so, I apologize. But when I received the email saying that, hey, this is what we're going to be doing on this night, it kind of pissed me off a little bit, because I'm like, my dude busted his ass. He come back from injury, and then Jackson Thornhill has a fucking hissy fit, takes away the tag titles, and now my dude could lose the Aussie title as well, just for a pure circumstance. I don't know, maybe I'm more heated about this than you are, but it just doesn't sit right with me. But I really hope that the wrestling gods are in your favor on August 30th, and yeah, man, I just think it's unfair, but it is what it is, I guess. Yeah,
got to roll with the punches. I'll fight anyone. Don't care who's in front of me. I'll fight them.
I love that you keep using that same expression, roll with the punches. Like, his name is literally Zack Stryker for a reason. Like, he just wants to get in the ring and have the bell ring, and whatever happens. But within the within the handful of matches that you have had so far in the last couple of years, Zach, what are some of your favorite matches that you have had personally? And then, of course, we'll move on to the part where we mark out. People say it's a dirty word, but I say we have fun with it. What are some of your favorite matches of your career that you have had thus far? And then we'll move on to some of the favorite matches that you have seen, whether live in person or on TV or YouTube or whatever other medium people are using to consume stuff these days.
Oh, favorite matches I've had. I'd probably say my favorite match is from Kara against Chris Stevens. I think that's probably one of my best ones that I've done. I got to go with Wrestle Strong against Sahara, my debut for Wrestle Strong. She's too damn good. She's so good for how short she's been doing it. And even though I got dropped on my neck for it, the triple threat for ECW will probably be the other one.
Okay. Some solid matches there. And it is worth noting that that the match with C Factor is actually on YouTube, courtesy of Suplex Studios and their amazing editing skills. And of course, Zahara was actually for the junior heavyweight title, wasn't it?
If I had won the match, I would have got a title shot, but didn't work out that way.
Number one contendership, okay. I knew it had something to do with the junior title, and I believe she now is the junior heavyweight champion, isn't she?
She just lost it to Zachariah.
Okay. Well, there you go. You got to think, if you had have won that match, maybe you could have gone on to be the Wrestle Strong junior champion, which maybe that's another goal for Stryker perhaps in the future. But no, I solid matches. And I will say, like, calling that triple threat with yourself, Tank, and Thornhill, that match was absolutely chaotic, but the live crowd loved every second of it, right up until the end where you were unfortunately dropped on your head, and we've well and truly documented that. And Jackson's not going to be happy about me saying this, but I truly hope that whether like win, lose, or draw, regardless of who walks out as champion on Saturday as we record this, I hope that you can get a couple of cheeky little shots in for revenge. That's all I'm going to say about that. But what are some of your favorite matches that you have seen, Zach, as a fan, just in general?
Oh. One that a lot of people have been talking about decently recently, because they had their match at Night of Champions, is Punk Cena on Raw. Winner faces The Rock.
Yep. I actually liked that more than the Money in the Bank match, personally.
Oh yeah, it's a lot smoother. But as a proper wrestling match, it's a lot smoother. But if you want just based off the crowd, you go with the Money in the Bank match. That's
probably the best way that I've heard that described. Absolutely. The atmosphere and everything with the Money in the Bank match was insane. But then like the bell-to-bell stuff, I think, for the Raw match just kind of slightly has the edge.
Yeah, back then you wouldn't see John do a tope suicida or a hurricanrana, and just pulls them out of nowhere.
Man, they had some great matches though, Cena and Punk. But yeah, I'll accept that.
Oh, they're always so good together.
What about like live in person? Because I know you've been to a nice little chunk of wrestling shows.
Oh, live in person. Probably the last WWE tour I went to was 2012, I would say. I believe that's when Punk shaved his head. Voluntarily, not thanks to Rey Mysterio. Had a match against Daniel Bryan, and just Bryan gets like the mic after the crowd calls him a goat face. He goes, "Am I a goat face?" Punk's just pissing himself, laughing, going, "Yes."
See, that makes me
can't go wrong with
jealous,
Punk and
man.
Bryan.
My first WWE live event wasn't until, was it 2015 or 2016? So, like, I got to see, like, Ambrose, or now John Moxley, Ambrose versus Rollins in a cage match, which was awesome, like, for my first ever live event, because, like, it wasn't even announced. They tried so hard to, like, hide the cage, but people sitting in certain sections could, like, see it. And one of my buddies, like, sent me a photo. He's like, dude, they're hiding a cage up here. And then Shawn Michaels comes out. He was, like, the special guest, like, GM for, like, the tour. And he's like, yeah, by the way, this main event's now a cage. Who saw, like, the cage? And, like, then it starts lowering and everyone's like, oh, shit. That was pretty cool. But, man, like, Daniel Bryan versus Punk, they had some amazing wrestling clinics. I am so jealous of that. Hell yeah.
I mean, you chuck Bryan in with almost anyone and you're guaranteed to get a good match.
I mean, that's a fair enough point.
Like, there are a few wrestlers where you can look at them and go, oh, you put them in with just about anyone, they'll get a good match out of them. I think Bryan's one of them. Chad Gable's is definitely an underrated one of them.
Dude, I'm so sad that he got injured. Like, I want to more focus on you and your story and, like, what gets you ticking. But when it came out that he'd injured his shoulder, I was heartbroken, especially off the back of that match with Vikingo as well. Like, he had so much momentum, and it's just like, oh, that sucks so bad for him.
Never a good time to get an injury, unfortunately.
Yeah, like oh, you know, what a terrible time to get injured. But no, like, obviously, yeah, to your point. But dude, like, he was on fire. But hell yeah, how many WWE tours have you been to over time?
I've been lucky enough to go to 2. I went to the 2011 one, just before Money in the Bank, and the 2012 one.
Oh, nice, nice.
Probably my favorite memory from the 2011 one was when The Miz came out. And, he's so good on the mic. I hate how good he is sometimes. He had the crowd in the palm of his hand, but back when he did the I'm the Miz and I'm awesome, every time the mic went near his mouth, just boo, and he'd just wave it around, going up, down, every time it went near his mouth, boo. And he's just like, I got a mic, I'm louder than all you.
Oh, that's amazing. In terms of, again, this is where, like, we're really being marky, but you can answer this like fantasy, you can answer it realistically, it's completely open for interpretation, but who are you as Zack Stryker? Who are some of your ultimate dream? Well, maybe you can give me a couple if you want, but the question is well, you can give me a couple if you want, but the question is just worded as one. But who is your ultimate dream opponent, and what is the dream stipulation? # what are words? Jesus Christ, I am so sorry, Zach.
No, you're all good. I've got, like, a list of dream opponents. Thankfully, I get to wrestle a couple of them this weekend in Gibson and A-Shack, but the ultimate ones, Damian Slater, Robbie Eagles, just in, like, a submission match, I think would be a lot of fun. Ooh. But you give me a technical wrestler and I'm over the moon.
I mean, look, as mentioned, like, again, I'm not trying to just toot your horn here, but as mentioned moments ago, like, you did submit Nick Martino, who doesn't submit very often, in that tag title match. So you're very fond of your submission hold. So I could definitely see, like, a hold for hold kind of thing with a D-Slats or a Robbie Eagles. Be kind of interesting, I guess, because you'd be, like, focusing probably more on the arms of Robbie. He'd be focusing obviously on your legs. It'd be a nice little kind of tit for tat kind of thing, I think.
Yeah, I mean, Robbie's one of the Aussie wrestlers I look up to, and same with Slater. Just watching them wrestle, it makes me go full nerdy with wrestling, like studying them.
Yeah, I've had a few people, and, like, I myself have talked about it. Like, I don't actually sub to the Patreon. I just love the just even the free content that Damien puts out is insane. But the stuff that he does with World Beater is ridiculously good. And then obviously I couldn't even imagine being one of the actual students at EPW or even the various promotions when he travels that he does seminars at, like, to be able to pick his brain would be worth, just all your weight in gold. Like, he is a fountain of knowledge, extremely talented professional wrestler. But before we get into all the plugs and stuff, Zach, we always end it on a non-wrestling question. And I can't believe part of me I can't believe is saying this, but I know that it's something that you're very passionate about, so I'll allow it. I know you're a big fan of the Canberra Raiders, big fan of the Canberra Milk. Who is your all-time favourite Canberra Raiders player, and what is your favourite Canberra Raiders moment?
Favourite player of all time is Jared Croker.
Okay,
lifeblood of the team for a long time, and feels so weird that I'm an adult now and I started watching his career when I was like 11 years old.
That is
just
absolutely
feels so
insane.
weird. Like I grew up with it. Yeah, it was like in the under 18s. I don't know. I was like 10, 12, and then like watched him retire a couple of years ago. It's mental. But for favourite moment, I was there for this. Big Papa scoring the winning try against the Rabbitohs in the semi-final, sending him to the grand final in 2019.
Yes, okay, yep, nice.
I was in absolute tears. Just the crowd was insane for that game.
I could imagine. I could imagine. I've been to a handful of Raiders games here and there when they've faced either Parramatta or I think I went to one game with my mum when it was randomly Raiders versus the Tigers, and I was just cheering for the Tigers. But the Raiders fan, like, football and wrestling, like, obviously two vastly different things. There's been a bit of crossover here and there, but Raiders fans specifically, like, the sporting fans of Raiders, like, they remind me so much of wrestling fans, because they are so loud, they are so obnoxious, but like in the best way. And then like when they do like, when they do the clap and stuff, like when they start blowing the horn, like even as a non-Raiders fan, I was like, it gives you goosebumps. Like, it's a really cool, like, presentation, I guess is the word I'm looking for. It's a really, really cool thing. So I can't imagine what it would have been like in a final situation. I mean, I'm a Parramatta supporter, so I could never imagine what it's like as a finals situation. But no, like, to be there in person, dude, like I would have loved to be there just to experience that, just as a sports fan in general. Like, that's really cool. That's super cool. How'd you feel, like, just as a side note before we get into blogs, how did it feel for you as a Raiders fan getting to see Terry Campese step into the ring?
Honestly, I wasn't expecting him to come out in a pair of budgie smugglers, but honestly, for his age, he looks pretty good, and just he's got a damn good throwing arm on him.
I actually we had Terry on the podcast, and I did actually talk about you on that episode, because I pointed out to Terry how much you were fanboying, like, with the whole, like, the Raiders music and stuff like that. But like the cannon on him with those mini footballs, that was some NFL quarterback type shit. Like, I thought he was going to take someone's eye out, and I'm glad it wasn't mine. Dude fucking launched those mini footballs. They're like, you'd think they were shot out of a cannon, but no, he threw them.
We were decently high up and it just about hit us.
See, I was kind of like teasing, and I was like, played for the wrong Raiders. He should be playing for Oakland with that arm. But no, that was. Oh, I guess, what are they now? Las Vegas. They haven't been Oakland in some time now. But no, like, that was so cool. Who from, like, just as a bonus question, because I know you're a massive, like, footy nerd on top of wrestling, who from the current football, like, NRL landscape, do you think would be able to cross over into the ring? Because we've seen a few people do that recently.
Yeah, who would be a good one? From the Raiders, I think Hudson Young could do it.
Okay, yeah.
He's got a decent size on him, and he's pretty agile, so I think he could do it pretty well. Maybe like a Bron Breakker type. Who else would be good? I think for like the showmanship type thing, King Gutho would probably do well. Like just from the showmanship.
I hate how good that Dragon's Guernsey actually looks on him.
Yeah, same.
I've got a few friends that like are Parramatta supporters like me, and they were like, "Nah, this is bullshit." And then they released the photos, and I was like, "He looks better in that jersey than he did ours." And it hurts to say, but from an aesthetic standpoint, I don't know. There's just something about it. It just looks so good on him.
I think with the bald head, it looks better on him. When he had like the full head of hair, he looked good in a Para jersey.
Yeah, you know what?
I just think it's the bald head.
I mean, look, some of the best
and the beard.
Some of the best Dragons players have had beards and been somewhat bald. So maybe they're onto like some sort of, maybe that's their secret, and they're just no one's got onto it yet. Maybe you're onto something there. But as we close in on an hour, Zach, I don't want to keep you for too long. Obviously, as I said, we can't cover your entire career in one podcast. I'd like to dig deep again in the future, and perhaps maybe you'll have some more gold by that point. Who knows? But where can we find you on social media? What merch, if any, do you have available, and what shows do you have upcoming?
No merch yet. Looking into that. But you can find me on Instagram, Zack_Stryker PW, Zack Stryker Pro Wrestler on Facebook. Really got to get back on that one. Of course, we got ECW Guilty Verdicts, which would have passed by the time this comes out, and ICW on the 30th of August.
Any trips
if anyone
planned
hears this
for Wrestle Strong or Suplex anytime soon?
Not currently, but I'm willing to travel if anyone wants to book me.
Do you have anywhere that you can be reached specifically for bookings, or is it just a matter of just messaging you on the socials?
Just message me on the socials. I'll definitely respond.
Hell yeah!
If I'm not in the gym or wrestling, I'm on my phone.
These damn young kids. No, I feel that. Hey, is there anything you need to plug before we wrap this up?
No, I got nothing. Unless you're listening to this early, come see me kick Jackson Thornhill in the face.
Yeah, to the 2 Patreon subscribers that we currently have. If I don't know whereabouts in the country you're located, but go to ECW as we record this. They've pre-sold just over half their tickets, so I have no doubt that you'll be wrestling in front of a sold-out crowd come Saturday, because we always have a lot of great walk-ins at the Tigers Club. We've always had capacity crowds there, which is awesome. But no, I know Jackson.
Tigers Club has been good work.
Jackson will probably listen to this eventually because he's vain and he knows we'll talk about him and he wants to hear us talk about him. But there's still part of me that still loves him very much, and I know you're probably in the same boat. I do hope that you give him a couple of extra little stiff ones for me. And I wish you...
Oh, of course, I was planning it anyway.
I absolutely, as I said, like my official prediction on paper was a Shaq, and I didn't mean any disrespect to either yourself or Jay Gibson either in saying that, but I genuinely do wish you the best of luck. Obviously, you know, I would like to have some more gold in Rogue. I'd like to have some more order back in Rogue, but unfortunately it is what it is currently. But no, I really wish you the best of luck, and I look forward to hopefully seeing you soon. Hopefully August, but obviously you know what it's
hopefully,
like. It's
man,
life, it's health, I miss you dearly. I know Nova misses you. Like literally just this morning, she was like, "Oh, this might be the week that I come back to the pod." And then like literally an hour before we started, she's like, "I'm not feeling well," and she said she misses you. But yeah, hopefully sooner than later we'll get to catch up. And no, I just genuinely from the bottom of my heart, I wish you the best of luck. I wish ECW the best of luck. And obviously, again, publicly this is going to drop the day after. But you know, I just wish you all the well wishes in life in general, and hope your health remains good and the neck heals up, 100%. And yeah, I just hope Jackson stops being a twat, basically.
It's in his nature.
But no, I appreciate
as I've
you.
learned from being around him a lot.
I appreciate you for jumping on. I know, and I will mention this on air just to out you a little bit. You did mention you were nervous because it's the first podcast you've been on. You're like you're probably like the 10th or 11th person now who it's the first time you've been on a podcast. So I'm honored that you chose me because I'm sure that, I know Wrestle Strong do a little podcasting and stuff as well. So I'm sure you'll probably end up on theirs eventually. Yeah. And I know What If It's Cool, DPC, he's been looking at some of the Canberra guys as well. So you'll probably end up on his eventually. So I appreciate being the first that you've been on. And yeah, just again, I know I sound like a crack record, but I just wish you the best and I miss you dearly. And yeah, man, like I love you, my brother. And I just hope that life keeps going well for you.
Oh, thanks, man. I love you too.
You have a good night, my brother.
You too, mate.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, that was the Rogue Heart, Zack Stryker, and once again, thank you to them for coming on and having this conversation with us. Nova Lee came back out literally just after I did that intro, and she gave it the tick of approval, so that's all right. I'll live with that. But no, thank you to Zack for coming on, and again, apologies to them for the very beginning of the conversation, cutting them off more than I would have liked. Unfortunately, he mentioned the 08 Rumble and like the Cena return, and like 13-year-old John just had like a little bit of a moment, and I'm sorry. I'm sorry. But no, thank you to Zack for coming on. I wish them the best of luck, because as I record this, Extreme Capital Wrestling is this weekend. Obviously, if you are a Patreon subscriber, you'll get it before that event. Cheap plug. Remember to check out the Tier 1. We're dropping a Christmas and July special for the Mean One watch-along. For all the video footage. Obviously, the audio footage will be dropping 5 hours after this episode on the Sunday, but I'm hoping that by the time this episode goes out publicly and it's free, that we hear some good things from Zack. I'm sure I'll hear some great things from Extreme Capital Wrestling. There has been some pretty big tweaks to the card. I don't want to say anything publicly just yet, because I know that on Saturday they're going to have some pretty good fun explaining those changes and dealing with those changes and rolling with the punches, if I can steal a line from Zack Stryker here, and putting a good show together. As I said, as I record this, there's 17 tickets left. That's too short of a 75% pre-sale, which is pretty amazing for a pre-sale. But of course, check my links, check Nova's links for, everything, the socials, the Patreon, blah, 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 blah. The Amazon wishlist, the Pro Wrestling Tees, the GoFundMe. As I said, I'm not going to beg, but a couple of my eye drops have come off, closing the gap. So one of them is $70 a pop, which is every single fucking month. So, if you're able to help, I'll appreciate it, but I'm not going to sit here and beg for it. And obviously, this laptop that I'm using for this podcast is on the fritz. So I'll be honest, I don't know how many of these will be out for the foreseeable future. We're trying our best to pump them out. We've got a few lined up, but yeah, it's literally, as I say that, it's been off the charger for literally 10 minutes, and I literally just had to plug it back in. My God, as I'm recording this, thank God it didn't beep as I was recording and mess up my flow and make me sound all unprofessional like. But yeah, it does not work pretty much unless it's plugged in. So my eye appointments are about to get very fucking boring on those long, very long train trips where I won't be able to watch anything because I can't use my laptop unless it's plugged in. But yeah, especially without Nova, because she's probably not going to be in the next one either. But it is what it is. But thank you again to Zack. I don't want to rant for too long. Thank you to Zack for coming on. Check out his Facebook. Check out his Instagram. Keep an eye out for him. He did say that he had some merch that he was trying to work on. I did actually make a logo for him ages ago. I don't know if that's going to be on a t-shirt anytime soon, but it is on like his Titantron thing, I think, actually, for ECW that their sound person put out and stuff. But yeah, anyway, great conversation with Zack. Appreciate Zack for coming on, but let me get into the plugs. Let me do my job. Let me do the housekeeping. First and foremost, as mentioned in this conversation, Championship Roulette. On top of the Pick Your Destiny match, ICW Indestructible going to be a crazy, crazy night on August 30th. Again, all tickets are just $8. It is a private function, so hit up ICW on either Facebook or their email. Their email will be linked below. But $8 tickets, how can you go wrong with that? Hit them up for all of the info on that, for how to pay for tickets and book your tickets and everything else. But I am hoping, keyword is hoping, I am hoping to be on the commentary desk that night, life and health and everything provided. But yeah, it sounds like a crazy, crazy, crazy night. And also on August 30th, though, if you're in Victoria, MXW Dead End tickets just went on sale literally today as I'm recording this this intro and outro. The link to that will be below. Of course, MXW coming off the back of a very successful tour with Brian Kendrick. They've got Famous B, I believe, appearing at this show again as well. And then at the end of the year, October 11th, well, it's not the end of the year, but later in the year, I should say, October 11th, Emma Butler Memorial Show. As I record this intro and outro, there is only 27 tickets remaining. And of course, all these tickets are online only. No ticket sales at the door, just because it's a lot easier to just keep track of how much money has been raised for the charity. Of course, $1 from every ticket goes to the Emma's charity, and then all of the raffle proceeds go towards it. And then ICW Central West have a portion of their merch. We have a portion of our merch. We do have 15 Radiation Kick shirts remaining, 4 medium, 4 large, 7 extra large. I think I've done that math correct. I've said it God knows how many episodes, and I just had a brain fart as I was saying it. I think that was a quick math. Anyway, hit me up. I can, if you pre-purchase, I can bring it to the show, or you can also purchase it to just have it sent to you in general. $30 a shirt, $10 for each shirt does go towards a charity. Of course, if you post it, it'll be an extra $10 for postage. But yeah, come along, raise money, have a great night. The song of the week this week was Mama Said Knock You Out by Five Finger Death Punch. As I said in the intro, absolute banger of a cover. And the match of the week this week was John Cena versus CM Punk, February 25th, 2013. This is another one of those matches that has been talked about so many times on the podcast, and I don't know how it hasn't been match of the week already, but here it is. It's episode 172. With that, I hope you enjoyed this episode. What are words? Buy that t-shirt. Hope you enjoyed the episode. Thank you to Zack Stryker for coming on. I cannot wait to chat to them again. And keep an eye out and an ear out for the bonus episode dropping later today, if you're listening to this on the day that drops, as well as the Patreon with the Christmas in July special, just $5 for watching the Mean One watch along and watch me get a couple of little jump scares here and there and almost choking on my water at one point. But yeah, I am the Essential John L. Crossfire. Nova Lee is still lurking in the back.
Nova Lee.
You were just caught
In conversation. Shaka laka laka.
and titty sprinkles.